as we get ready for what is a long day in the saddle for these riders. It is going to be a pretty special day here in Richmond, the final day of this year's World Championship racing. We have got the picturesque countryside, and the amount of fans by the side of the road for today's final medal is pretty spectacular too. This is the scene on Libby Hill right now, as everyone gets ready to welcome the Peloton in the Men's Elite Championship. There are everyone watching. Good morning to everyone on Libby Hill. All the different corners now have nationalities. There's the Norwegian corner. While you go, that's the way to get a little bit of workload in. Right, they're going to be greeted with a huge, look at that. A massive crowd on Libby Hill as the breakaway now are led by Sung Park. This is one of those goosebump moments for some of these riders. Ben King particularly in the Stars and Stripes of the United States of America. He's going to thrive on this today. Ben King, one of those quietly spoken riders who rides for Cannondale Garmin. And he is going to really enjoy this. He's 26 years of age. He's won a stage in the Criterium International this year. He made a massive effort to get across to this group. Connor Dunn is just struggling a little bit at the back of the group. Much energy as they possibly can. So if a rider can take them through the bunch, then they'll do that. Right, the Peloton now on to Libby Hill. The colours of the international Peloton. The pace being set by the Dutch squad onto the cobbles. Gap is going out. It's over 5 minutes now as they hit Libby Hill. And I think this is just going to get louder and louder and louder all day. Ben King's fan club are there on that corner, so they'll be really pleased to see that he is in this breakaway group already. Absolutely stunning atmosphere. It's been building all week. The atmosphere for the women yesterday was amazing. And the Dutch team all at the front of this peloton right now. They've missed the group. And the Netherlands team, Lars Boom, Tom de Moulin, Robert Hessink, Sebastian Langeveld, Pimlik, Tart, Bauke Mollema, Nicky Terpstra, Dylan van Baal, Jos van Emden. A very, very strong team indeed as they make their way up the climb. Just saw Ben Swift near the back for Great Britain. In fact, Kwiatkowski is quite near the back as well. And the riders just coming back into the peloton after chatting. And Ben King takes the leading group onto the cobbles yet again, onto Libby Hill. And this time he's gone to the front. He wants to enjoy the atmosphere of this World Championship, and it's given him a little bit more of a push. Ben King looking really strong today. There is Ben King. He just looks pretty calm right now as he pedals his way over the cobbles. But a bit bumpy, that air section of the course. These cobbles are not even in any way whatsoever. Every time we get 228 kilometres of racing remaining, and it's the German squad who decide to lead on now. I think it was Christian Knies who was the first rider at the front. In fact, it's not. It's one of the other German riders who goes to the front of the race. Looks like Marcel Seeberg is taking on the tempo right now at the front of this peloton. A lovely sight as we go up Libby Hill. All the fans here are enjoying the action. Both with the commentators there. I know many people are watching the live stream out there on the race as well. And it is a beautiful sight as we see Jos van Emden lead for the Netherlands. The gap still around about 4 minutes 40 seconds. And towards the front of the group now, the Italian team looking after Vincenzo Nibali. They're just making sure that he's in the right position each time. It's like a big Kermesse circuit, this sort of thing. A Kermesse is a Belgian criterium race held on a big circuit and always includes some cobbles. And on Radio Tour, 4 minutes 35 as we go over the top of Libby Hill with the lead group of riders intact. Conor Dunn of Ireland.
Rigoberto around. Somebody maybe a little bit below the top rank, but still a world-class rider who takes the initiative on the day. But we'll see. You know, whoever wins on this course, it's not going to be a rank outsider. It's going to be the strongest rider in the world on the day.
It's going to be a great day. Well, Brian, thank you very much for joining us in the commentary box. Go and enjoy the racing for the rest of the afternoon. We've got 214 kilometres to go. Brian Cookson, president of the UCI, thank you very much.
Cheers.
Over the top of Libby Hill, and then down the descent. He doesn't want to be making that huge sort of effort at this point in the race. Notably, Tom Bonin is sitting very, very close to the front of this peloton. You see he's over there on the left-hand side, and a lot of these riders are riding this the way they would ride the likes of the Tour of Flanders, which is ride near the front, stay out of trouble, don't get caught in any little crashes or mechanical issues. And normally we see all the favourites so close to the front. I can see Sam Bennett, also of Ireland, up towards the front of this peloton right now. So it's Jos van Emden. Behind him is Ligtard, I think Bauke Mollema, Tom Bonin up there near the front. Sam Bennett goes through the picture. Kwiatkowski also up near the front, so is Buani. Matthew Heyman of Australia is also near the front of this group right now. And this gap is coming down. It's 3 minutes and 30 seconds now, so they're not letting it go to the sort of 10-minute mark that we've seen in many World Championships previously. Thanks to all of you then for your tweets today so far. We are getting towards the end of the first hour and a half of today's race. They'll work together, and they'll work together in all ways. They'll have conversations amongst each other. Jesse realising that Ben King didn't know what the time gap was, and he won't want a rider in the breakaway to be stressed about what the time gap is, so Sargent helping him out a little bit. They ride together on the World Tour, and they'll have ridden together many, many times. Conor Dunn hates this hill. Every time he works his way from the front to the back, which is actually a clever thing to do. The Ben King fan club give him a massive shout on that corner. But Conor Dunn is riding a clever race here. So what he'll do, he knows he's the tallest and heaviest rider in this front group. So he'll go to the front as they go onto the cobbles, and then slowly he'll ride at his own tempo up the climb, which will then meet Paterski. And a problem here at the side of the road, and this is Tom Bonin. A puncture here for Bonin as they went towards the climb, and that is not a good time for him to puncture. But he is one of the best riders on the cobbles in this peloton. Nice fast wheel change by the Belgian mechanics as we get Tom Bonin back into the race. Oh, bit of a problem there. A couple of riders coming to grief, a touch of wheels. And you can see here as the riders go up Libby Hill, the giant screen keeping everyone entertained. Ant Christie thinks Geraint Thomas could have won today. I think a lot of people also think that. That there was the possibility of Geraint Thomas doing well in this race. The Great Britain team we haven't talked too much about. Stephen Cummings, the Tour de France stage winner this year. Alex Dowsett, who broke the hour record. Andy Fenn, who is also in the peloton. Andy Fenn, a new father. Liz Hatch is actually here, his girlfriend. Luke Rowe, who rode so well in the early season classics. Ian Stannard, twice winner of the Omloop Het Nieuwsblad. Ben Swift, who was 12th in 2014. Tom Bonin goes cracking over the top of the climb. Team have really high hopes for this race. There's our GPS time comparison, the leaders and the peloton. The leaders are heading towards the completion of the lap. The Italian squad: Fabio Fellini, Vincenzo Nibali, Giacomo Nuzzolo, Danielos, Manuel Cinziato, Matteo Trentin, Diego Ulissi, and Elia Viviani has now recovered from his crash the day before the team time trial and is hoping for great things. Thank you very much for the link to the cycling rules, which of course those of us who ride bikes are aware of the cycling rules, which were written by a couple of years ago. One of the rules is rule number 28. Socks can be any colour you like. White is old school cool and black is cool too. But the big question is, do black socks go with white shoes? There is also a rule of thumb, which is you do have to look a little bit classy. But then Jesse Sargent seems to be carrying off the black socks and white shoes kind of that the Kiwis had scissors in the car. He doesn't have scissors in the car. I agree. I was pretty impressed at that. They have everything in those team cars. What you also find is that before the race starts, as we look at Libby Hill, the riders will have a wet bag prepared. So they all have a bag that goes in the back of the car. Kwiatkowski is now at the front of the race wearing number 1. He's decided to ride the cobbles on the front, the defending world champion. He looks good as he goes onto this cobbled section. And so they have, there is the two Polish riders at the front. There'll be a few little alarm bells signalled now. Wondering why Kwiatkowski's decided to ride at the front of this race. On the left-hand side, there is Robert Hessink, a man who's on good form right now, but Bodnar followed by Kwiatkowski. Matti Breschel is also near the front of the race. I've mentioned him before. Don't discount Breschel from being in these the mix on the run into the finish line. He's really talented. Peter Sagan goes through. Ian Stannard does as well. It is like a little cobbled classic. Flat roads, then 3 quick succession climbs, and then flat roads again. It is an interesting race. I was talking about the wet bags, so if the rain does fall, in the back of the team cars, generally there'll be a wet bag, which is a bag that the riders pack in the morning. That will have a rain cape. It might have what we call a Gabba jacket, which was first designed by Gabriel Rasch, who's now a team director. And he designed this tight-fitting jacket that keeps you again, led by Alzati, the rider who rides for United Healthcare at the front of the race. And yet again in Libby Hill, everyone goes wild as they see the peloton. Alzati, we've talked about a little bit before, was third on a stage of the Tour of Kingai Lake. He's been with United Healthcare since 2013. He rode for a Team Exergy before that. So far this season, he's not had any major performances. Started his year at the Tour de San Luis. But it looks like he's enjoying being at the front of the World Championships right now. Conor Dunn is starting to ride this hill a little bit, and 5 kilometres of racing. On the front of the peloton then, still the Dutch team. 4 kilometres from the line at this point. And the bottom of Libby Hill, the Dutch squad go leading into that yet again. Looked like it could have been Dylan van Baarle, who was the rider who hit the base of the climb that time, in the lead. And still Belgium looking interested. Poland also near the front. The French squad massing. Taylor Phinney making his way up for the United States of America. Greg Van Avermaet also near the front of the race now for the first time. That might give us an indication of who they're riding for. Taylor Phinney looking good, wearing number 156. Well, he said a week ago he was going to live off the energy of the American fans to try and do something in this World Championship. Let's see what happens. All the cars winding their way up Libby Hill. Meanwhile, the peloton has turned left and is starting their way down the descent. Lots of Norwegian flags up here. Of course, we are going to go to Norway for the Ireland team have brought their car up because they don't need to worry about what's going on in the peloton. New Zealand the same, but the American squad may have asked one of the other team cars, could you look after Ben while he's in the breakaway until we see whether this group goes anywhere. The atmosphere on Libby Hill then, building all the time, 149 kilometres to go in the World Championships as Ben King sets the tempo, pleasing the American fans. But as you can see, there are Norwegian flags here. There's American flags, Colombian flags. The atmosphere is pretty special. Brazilian flags being hung over the barriers. The Canadian maple leaf, the Italians. This is pretty special, isn't it, as an atmosphere? At the top of that... Again, the Dutch go driving into the base of the climb. This has been the same for a long time. The gap, though, is starting to come down. 2 minutes and 18 seconds we're hearing on Radio Tour is the advantage for the leading group of 8. Spotting other nationalities in here, cheering these riders on. Just looking to see who's near the front. Matti Breschel, to me, looks very, very good again today as the Dutch kind of kick things on a little bit over the top of the climb. Brazilian rider near the front as well. Oh, a little gap goes for the first time. The Danish riders are also near the front. Buani has constantly stayed near the front of this World Championship. Can Buani win for the French? You remember that under-23 victory of Kevin Ledanois the other day, which was very, very impressive. 148 kilometres of racing to go. Peloton looks thinned down a little bit to me. I wonder whether there's a few more riders who are dropping out the back of this race, where the favourites now start to, they don't just wake up, but they're in the race now and they start to talk to their teams and the plan starts to unfold, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, you know, earlier in the race they can be a little more relaxed and know that, you know, whatever happens, there's plenty of time to come back from it. And, you know, with 133k to go, there still is, but this is the point where they need to start, you know, people are starting to test the legs, see how they're feeling, and, you know, really start thinking they've got half the race done now, so, you know, they have half of it to go.
As a team director then, what is said the night before a race like this? Is there, you've been in World Championships before, generally team meeting, and is there a plan agreed and everyone sits down and agrees that plan? Because obviously you're bringing different riders from different teams together. We were asked earlier about trade teams, you know, how you get over the complexities of the fact that you've brought maybe 8 riders together, all from different trade teams potentially, and you make that work. What happens?
Yeah, I mean, every team, yeah, both in races throughout the year and in the World Championships, will go into the race with a plan. Most of the time you'll go in with a plan A, plan B. You know, some of the team meetings you can go through a variety of different scenarios. You have to be careful that you don't go through too many, because you can guarantee you go through 100 scenarios, it's always going to be the 101st that plays out. But yeah, you'll have usually a protected rider, maybe 2 protected riders, depending on how the race plays out, and other riders that are going to ride in support of that. And for some teams, some nations, it will be very obvious who the protected rider or riders are. Others will have maybe more riders, all of whom have different characteristics and have different chances in the race. And those are maybe the more challenging ones, the more challenging team meetings, where, you know, that you have more cards to play, but it maybe dilutes the focus slightly, and, you know, it means that the riders very much have to think on their feet during the race as to how the race is playing out and which of their team that suits.
Is there in that meeting, is there an element of negotiation? Because either to get back into the race as we hit Libby Hill again, and the tempo of the breakaway continues, but I'm just looking to see who is leading up here. It's still Ben King enjoying his time out in the lead with 117 kilometres to go. This breakaway looks like it's starting to feel the pressure a little bit, and the Serbian rider Stevic looks like he's going to get dropped on Libby Hill this time, and we're going to end up with maybe 5 riders in the lead. So it is Ben King who leads over the top, and we've also looks like we've lost Sung Park from Korea, and Stevic is suffering now. He stretches his back. You're not going to give me a winner, are you?
I'm not. No.
You're not going to give us a winner. Okay. Rachel's not going to give us a winner today out of any of these riders. You just want a good race.
Absolutely, and I think it's definitely shaping up to be one.
Okay, thank you. That was very diplomatic. Ladies and gentlemen, Rachel Hill's been with us. She is the team director of United Healthcare. She has managed the men's and the women's team, and we are seeing now the remnants of the breakaway dropping off. So many fans on Libby Hill, but the peloton are rumbling their way onto the cobbles, and it looks like it is game time, because Belgium, now we're interested. Simon Geschke of Germany is also near the front, and I think we're going to start to see riders dropping off the back.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the peloton as they came onto Libby Hill, that looked like it was noticeably faster than it has been for the last few laps. So I think we're going to see a heating up of the action now.
116 kilometres to go. Rachel Hill, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
All the best to your United Healthcare team, who we enjoy watching racing, both men's and women's teams. And have a good winter, and we'll look forward to seeing you race next year. Led onto the climb again by Connor Dunn, which he's done quite a few times, and then he just works his way to the back on most occasions. But I think Connor's looking still pretty strong today. He's produced a great performance for his country, and now he's trying to accelerate a little bit to see whether he can pull away a couple of riders to keep this breakaway going. The Colombian rider still looks good, but Connor Dunn rolling the pedals over this climb. I was asked a moment ago by Balram Singh, how are these two gobbled climbs in comparison to the Paterberg? Well, right now they're going to be starting to hurt a lot, because they've been up them so many times. If you went up them normally, they wouldn't really correspond to the likes of the Paterberg, but now things are starting to hot up. It will start to hurt because it's just numerous times. Rafael Majka is the rider who led onto the cobbles that time for the Polish team. And it's kind of one of those where you want to be near the front. Rafael Majka, 26 years of age. There he is on the front of the group right now. Just be a little bit careful. Fans at the side of the road. Let's hope no one gets hit by a phone or anything. 3 stage wins in the Tour de France. He won the Tour of Poland. He's been 3rd in Lombardia, 6th in the Giro d'Italia, 3rd recently in the Vuelta a España. Rafael Majka is definitely on form, but this gap is coming down extremely quickly. Still near the back of the group, Stephen Cummings. Look how easy he is. He just rolls along at the back of the group. On to Libby Hill again, inside final 85 kilometres of today's race. Tom Bonan gives it a little bit of throttle, immediately tracked by Tony Martin. Tom Bonan is looking like he wants to get involved in the action now. So Bonan stretching the tempo a little bit at the front of this race. Tom Bonan looking animated. Mikko Kwiatkowski, his teammate at Ethics Quickstep, are also there. And suddenly this tempo is starting to go up all the time. And that interesting move of the Dutch squad to try and stretch the race and break it a little bit the last time round looks like it is starting to cause some problems for some riders further on back. Here for ages, everyone has loved seeing him. I was in a restaurant the other night. He was there quietly having some food, and he could hardly have some food because people kept coming over and asking for his photograph. But they're going to love seeing Taylor Phinney on the front of this, aren't they?
No, they're going to be cheering and going crazy, and Taylor's starting to kind of push on the pedals a little bit harder and opening up a little bit of a gap towards the top. on some of the other rides. But Libby Hill is going to erupt as the American Taylor Phinney right now is coming across. Ben King, we saw coming up to the front. Everybody went crazy. Taylor Phinney's now going up there. So, again, you know, it's about getting, I think, a little bit of a head start. You know, he can stay up there, and if really crunch time comes down, because you never know when some team is all of a sudden deciding. We saw Belgium really, like, all of a sudden unleash an amount of fury last time as we see Belgium on the front again. If that happens and we see another split, Taylor Phinney's going to find him in that leadership role in the front group. Right now is on the front. Belgium is leading it.
They certainly are. Well, it is Smuklers just caught. Oh, he almost he went to go to the nice smooth bit of road, but there's a little bit of an attack going on, and one of them is Simon Geschke, the German rider. He's the man with the beard that we always see. He's in second wheel. Matti Breschel in third. Tom Boonen just behind that. The German riders all together. But now the pace is starting to go on. It looks like it is Sepp van Marke who's going on the attack with Geschke. And Matti Breschel looks around, see Tom Boonen, Degenkolb for the first time. Ian Stannard just behind that. All the names are starting to rise to the top of this peloton. Elliot Viviani goes through. Luke Rowe is still there. Greipel looks a little bit like he's having to move the bike an awful lot to get over there. Guerin's also halfway down. The Australians, still a lot of riders here, and they haven't ridden hard yet.
No, the Australians have been sitting, and I was thinking about that when you were talking about what teams haven't done anything. The Australians have been very quiet, almost like Tom Boonen there. Seemed like he eased up almost to let a gap go up for the rider to go up the road.
And that's why when you see the end of a World Championship, you cannot go with the readout that goes immediately across the line, because you could have a rider without a timing chip who's had a bike change, particularly in a World Championship. This race continues. The atmosphere is building here on Libby Hill. It's a larger than life-size head of Taylor Phinney. What an atmosphere. Sweets off, sets the tempo. Taylor Phinney having to work really hard to stay there this time. Guillaume Bovang looks very good indeed. Over the top of Libby Hill as the peloton. 125 now is the advantage for this lead. Shut things off. Luke Rowe is the first rider onto the cobbles. They've put him in a perfect position. It looks like Stannard and Swift are going to kick things on over the top of this climb this time. And Swift, of course, has finished 12th in these World Championships last year. We've heard from Great Britain that they are kind of running a loose plan along the sort of lines of Swift going for the sprint. These two riders lead up the climb this time. Near the front also, one of the French riders. And Denmark, they tried to take control, but it didn't really work as Stannard and Swift with Kwiatkowski on their wheel. Next year will be a teammate of theirs. Boonen is there, Martin is there. The Dutch team with Bauke Mollema. He is up towards the front. Rui Costa also there. Buani is still near the front of this race. We haven't mentioned Peter Sagan yet. Sagan just hiding somewhere in this peloton. So is Matthews. And a couple of British riders going out the back. Stephen Cummings is still there. Luke Rowe has given everything he can. But now it comes down to whether the Belgians can now use their form to good effect. Bowman goes onto the climb. Kwiatkowski measures him. Stannard is still there. He is able to ride these cobbles at a good tempo. Bowman looks like he's got slightly tired legs, but he goes formidably to the right-hand side of this race, and we'll see whether the Belgian team are on the front of this race right now. They are. Look at this. The Belgians, sorry, this is the lead group. Which group is just behind? We'll see who is doing the chasing. And it looks like we've got a little bit of a stretch happening as Tom Bone and Kwiatkowski, Stannard, Viviani and Belcamahoma, Danny Moreno. This race isn't over yet because the peloton is coming back. 15 seconds the advantage. It is closing up so fast now. And it is Marco Haller who kicks on over the top of the climb. The French are also represented well, so are the Italians. Looking to see where the likes of Peter Sagan are, because I've not seen Sagan all of this race. Next time round, the peloton are going to get one lap to go. Greipel is hanging on at the back. Stephen Cummings is still there for Great Britain. He's seen his teammate Stannard go on the move. Now these riders are going to play today. The German riders move up as well. Everyone's sensing they don't want to let anyone sneak away on this climb. The French are trying the same tactic they tried in the under-23 road race. Zdeněk Štýbar now attacks. Immediately goes to the front. A big move. Immediately going with him is the German rider. It looked to me like it was John Degenkolb who was trying to go with Štýbar. The Belgians are trying to shut the gap. Edvald Boasson I think is up there. Štýbar is giving this full throttle now. Degenkolb gritting his teeth. Van Avermaet is also there. Edvald Boasson, the first four riders across the top. Štýbar, Degenkolb, Van Avermaet. Also there is Edvald Boasson. Peter Sagan now arrives at the front of the race for the first time. Can he get himself onto the wheel? It's one long string of riders as they go over the top of Libby Hill for the final time. A huge crowd is waiting here at the finish line to bring these riders home. 3.7 kilometers to go. Štýbar's attack hasn't worked. Who's going to take the initiative? A big move on the right-hand side. It comes from the Dutch squad. John Degenkolb is prepared to go with this one. An immediate reaction from Štýbar. Van Avermaet. Behind Van Avermaet is Edvald Boasson. They're going to go fast downhill now and set themselves up for the climb of 23rd Street, where dreams are made. Peter Sagan trying to make his move. Van Avermaet is with him. Boasson. Peter Sagan gives this full throttle now. He goes into the aero tuck. Look at this, downhill, and he's in Frankie Andreu, as he said, the super tuck. He looks around the win. Peter Sagan is the world champion after 6.25 hours of racing. What an absolutely amazing win. Peter Sagan is the world champion. Whoa. What an absolutely incredible finish. He had nothing left when he got to that finish line. Peter Sagan just was, look at that, he gets off the bike, he walks. He's covered in sweat and dirt and everything, but he's now going to go to the fans. He's going to high-five everyone. He is probably the most popular world champion we have ever seen in the last few years. He can't believe it. He's walking. He doesn't want to ride the bike. What a win by Peter Sagan. He throws his helmet into the crowd. That'll be worth about 100 grand in a few years. But Peter Sagan wins. Just looking at the silver and bronze, I think it was Michael Matthews of Australia. Navadauskas, I think, takes the bronze medal, but will confirm. Peter Sagan is the world champion. There's the crowd on Libby Hill that have cheered these riders all the way to the finish line. And we're waiting now for Peter Sagan. Let's leave you with the action from Richmond. From me, Anthony McCrossan, it's been a pleasure bringing you these